let me say this, and I won't say it twice. Some actors I've worked with, I never want to see again. At 94 years old, Robert Duvall, the Oscar-winning titan of American cinema, has finally broken decades of silence. Known for his steely discipline, emotional intensity, and relentless pursuit of truth on screen, Duvall has earned respect across generations. But behind that quiet, no-nonsense exterior, he's carried memories and grudges about certain co-stars he found impossible to work with. In a rare moment of raw honesty, Duvall has now named for actors he truly couldn't stand. Men he clashed with, resented, and in some cases, outright despised. These weren't petty disagreements. For Duvall, it was always about the craft. And when someone violated that, there was no forgiveness. You might think you know who's on the list, but prepare to be surprised. Throughout his decades-long career, Robert Duvall was never Hollywood's loudest voice, but he was one of its most principled. He wasn't in it for stardom, money, or magazine covers. Duvall lived and breathed for the sacred art of acting, whether playing the quiet Southern preacher in The Apostle, or the war-hardened colonel in Apocalypse Now. Duvall poured everything into his characters, and he expected everyone around him to do the same. That's why, when fellow actors showed up with ego, laziness, or flash-over substance performances, Duvall didn't just disapprove, I don't get along with a lot of actors, he once admitted. And when you hear the names on his list, you'll understand exactly why. The next name stings, because Al Pacino and Robert Duvall shared the screen in The Godfather, one of the most revered films in history. Their characters, Tom Hagen and Michael Corleone, were bound by family, duty, and power. But off-screen, the story was far less harmonious. Duvall admired Pacino's ability, but over time, he watched Pacino's performances shift from subtle to shouting matches, from internal to explosive showmanship. And worse, he witnessed ego creep in. Their relationship strained even further during The Godfather Part 3, when Duvall refused to reprise his role after learning that Pacino was making dramatically more money. To Duvall, it wasn't about dollars, it was about principle. They were a team, and Pacino had broken that bond. He never outright called Pacino greedy, but his silence spoke volumes. "If they treat me like a side dish, I won't show up to the table," he once said. Younger, flashier, and always in the headlines, Tom Cruise was everything Duvall hated about modern Hollywood. Though they appeared together in Days of Thunder, their working styles clashed instantly. Duvall came to set focused, prepared, ready to explore the soul of the character. Cruise brought stardom, spectacle, and a high-octane energy that Duvall saw as style over substance. "Some actors act to be loved, not to tell the truth," Duvall once said. Many insiders believe that was a direct jab at Cruise. Their differences weren't just generational, they were philosophical. Cruise represented the blockbuster era, Duvall represented the craft, and the two were simply not compatible. This one may surprise you. Marlon Brando, the father of modern screen acting, was once a figure Duvall admired deeply. But admiration doesn't mean affection. Their time together on Apocalypse Now was tense, to say the least. Brando arrived on set, overweight, unprepared, and uninterested. He hadn't even read the script. Francis Ford Coppola, desperate to hold things together, had to rewrite scenes on the spot to work around Brando's unwillingness. For Duvall, who showed up every day, ready to dig into the heart of a scene, it was unforgivable. He later remarked that Brando had genius, but let it rot. That's what hurt the most. Duvall didn't hate Brando's talent, he hated that Brando stopped respecting it. Brando, once the standard of truth in performance, had become a man who coasted on reputation, and Duvall had no patience for that. So why now? Why, after all these years, has Robert Duvall decided to name names? Maybe it's because, at 94, he's outlived the fear of backlash. Maybe it's because the truth matters more to him than politeness. Or maybe at S, because he believes the next generation of actors needs to know. Craft matters more than clout. Duvall didn't expose these names to be cruel. He exposed them because, for decades, he stood alone in his belief that honesty in acting is sacred. and that when someone betrays that honesty, it must be called out. His legacy isn't just about great performances, it's about unshakable artistic integrity, and the courage to stand for what matters, even when it means standing alone. Robert Duvall never wanted to be a celebrity. He wanted to be an actor, a real one, the kind who serves the story, not the spotlight. And in calling out the people who, in his view, disrespected the craft, he's given us one final performance: the truth. What do you think about the actors Robert Duvall couldn't stand? Do you agree with his brutal honesty, or do you think he went too far?